Hey gang, long time no talk. Yeah, it's been a while. I've sprouted off a little bit. I've been cheating on you. It's time to come clean. I started another podcast that has no downloads yet. Just about me being a dad, and I don't know if it's gonna be any different than this podcast feed. But I wanted to start expressing and learning to express about being a dad, about being a parent, about my girls, about my family, and different things. Um, but I some sad news this week. My brother just passed away, and so that's what I chatted about on that feed. And I'm going to run it here because I think it's warranted to be on this feed as well. Um, I won't go into it too much here in the lead in. I might talk a little bit afterwards. But yeah, it's not unexpected, I suppose, that I didn't feel very much of anything, and I continue to not feel much of anything. But that's just the way it goes for me right now, I guess. Um, yeah, you know what? That's it. I'm just gonna run it. It's a little bit maybe more lighthearted feel than you're used to hearing on this feed. And maybe I can be a two podcast host and put out on both feeds. We'll see. Um, but hey, thanks for listening, and continue to reach out if you would like to jamolki@gmail.com. That's JAMOALKI. Thanks, everybody. Be safe and be well. Why did the cow cross the road? To get to the other side. I carry a lot of baggage around with me. That's not unique to me. Lots of people have baggage. We all have a history. If we've lived, we have baggage, right? I may have mentioned I had another podcast that I did about dealing with depression, my life with depression. And I'm going to cross post this episode over there because I think what we're going to chat about today has merit for that podcast feed, which I haven't added anything to for quite some time now. So it may take a few people by surprise when they see a new podcast pop up in that feed. But so some life changes. Some life has been lifing here in the JP world. And that centers around my family and my brother specifically. My brother was diagnosed with cancer just about a year ago. Went through a round of chemo, 2 rounds of chemo, and actually came out with a diagnosis of a diagnosis. I don't know, of a remission. And it was like, hooray, but you never know what that means with cancer, right? And then he started having some of the same issues again. He went back and like, oh no, here it is, it's back. And it's as angry as it was before, unfortunately. And then this led to issues with his liver. And then he just deteriorated very fast, very quickly. This past Tuesday, this in the afternoon, he unfortunately passed away. I was fortunate in that his daughter, my niece, gave me a heads up. I had plans of coming up here. Spoiler, I'm here in Michigan. Coming up to Michigan Wednesday, July the 3rd, after work, and arrive late and get to see him because at one point he was just in the hospital, and I was like, okay, we're gonna this could be serious, and this might be the chance to get together with him and mom in the same room for a last time. She was messaging me throughout the day on Monday, and it really didn't look good at all. There had already been talk about hospice, and I just made the decision that okay, I need to come up now. So I finished out the day of work. I went home. I made travel plans, and Tuesday morning 2 a.m. I got up and got ready for traveling. And I got up here to Michigan around 8 in the morning, drove up to the hospital, saw what was going on. He looked remarkably like my dad looked in his final days, being in hospice and just, on a basically continuous morphine to make him comfortable and not responsive, not aware of anything, doing that. I think it's agonal breathing is what it's called. And I just, I told my niece, I was like, okay, I'm going to get grandma. I know Andy didn't really, kept her in the dark through these last week or so, but she needs to have a chance to at least see him. And it's not going to be meaningful in that they're going to be able to talk back and forth. But she needs to be able to see him. And, so I went and grabbed her, and, she didn't know I was in town. I just showed up at her door and, hey, we're going to see Andy. This is what's going on. We went and saw him. And then, there's only so much that she could take. And there was nothing we could do being in there. It wasn't, there's no solid indication that he would be aware of what was going on around him. We were talking to him. And talking of him while we were there. But Mom was like, no, I need a break. So we took a break. I went, did a few things, went back to get Mom, and was like, okay, we're going to go grocery shopping, and then we'll go back and see Andy. And as we were putting on our shoes, my niece called me and said, no, he passed. So off we went to the hospital and pay our respects there. And, yeah, so now here I am. I'm still in Michigan. Got just a boatload of things that I need to figure out. I need to do some more growing up in terms of, caring for Mom and making sure that she's continued to be cared for, and, all the financial things and dealing with, funeral arrangements and cremation, which a lot of that is falling on his daughter. And, but we just have to do these things. I need to ensure that I'm prepared to continue to care for Mom. Right. And so I'm doing that. Today, though, is the 4th of July here in the United States, which is our Independence Day. So there's not a lot of businessing that can happen, and probably very little that can happen tomorrow. But I think I've got a pretty good head start on it. And then we'll be coming back up next weekend for the service and a few other things. We'll talk about that later next week. But what's going on with me is that same thing as with my dad, right? There was a brief moment in the hospital room when I was, before Andy passed, when Mom was there and his daughter was there and her husband was there. And I was talking a little bit about what was going on and what I knew, what I thought I knew, trying to, make things comfortable for everybody there. And I got a little choked up, a little bit, as well as a little bit on Monday when I was at work trying to figure out what I was going to do about getting up here. That's it. Just choked up, right? Little teary-eyed, but no actual tears. But that's been it. So that's it. That's my emotional outpouring. What are we going on? Almost 2 days of my brother having passed. And this is very similar to when my dad passed. It was the same kind of thing. There was one moment I was alone in the room with him. This was when he was, far into hospice care and wasn't responsive in this kind of non-responsive stage, just breathing, right? And it's a painful thing to watch. But we're assured by the hospice nurses that they are, as comfortable as can be. And even though the breathing sounds really hard and labored, and it is to a certain extent, but it's not what it looks like necessarily, right? It's just what the body is doing. The body is trying to continue to function, and that's how it works. But there's no indication that he is conscious and aware of what's going on. And I was just with my dad, and I said, I told him that he did a good job. He took care of everybody. He fought the good fight. He had a great life. He provided a great life for his family. And it was time. It was time. He should feel that it's okay to let go. And I wanted to have a similar conversation with my brother, and I feel a little badly that I wasn't able to do that. I had plans when we were going back Tuesday afternoon that I was gonna ask, hey, can I have the room for a minute with Andy, and tell him a similar thing. It wasn't he stepped up and took care of my mom and strived really hard to take care of his daughter, and I wanted to tell him that and let him know that. And I kind of wish I'd been able to do that, but I wasn't, and I didn't. And I don't feel emotional about that. Maybe I should. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's going to be a time of grieving for Andy, or if it's just going to be, what happened with Dad. I never did any grieving for him that I was aware of. So we'll see. I start a new therapist on Monday, and maybe something will come of that. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I've tried, there's there's a ideology that when you say it out loud, it becomes real. And that's often when we have emotional responses to things. And I thought maybe doing this, I've said it now. Andy has passed. My dad has passed. My mom is still here, but nothing. I don't know. There's, I guess there's an underlying feeling of anxiousness, but that could just be related to all these new things that I need to learn how to do, and how to take care of Mom, and plans to make, and things like that. Or I don't know. Yeah, so that's what's been going on this past week. So we'll reflect on Andy a little bit. Andy and I we were family. We were brothers. And so we were available for each other whenever needed. But that was it. We weren't close. And not that I'm close with many people. And I certainly, you wouldn't expect that we were brothers if if we could catalog the interactions we have. If there was a way to catalog interaction time, conversation quality, and emotional interactions, you wouldn't. I don't think you would see that as we're siblings. And it's that's a little bit on me. It's a little bit on him. Whereas he was a difficult person to deal with, in my opinion, and many people's opinions. And I am just not that forthcoming. I'm not that open. I'm not that open to sharing emotions on things. And so we weren't that close. But like I said, we were family, and if he needed something, I would do it. If I needed something, he was like, yeah, okay, we got it. Right. So we had that. That was, my dad instilled that in us, family. The thing to say here is that I'm going to miss him, but I don't really miss things, people, events, stuff. And if I did, I don't know. If I did, that might be an indication that I have a different outlook on life, and we may have had a different relationship. But even if, given what our relationship was, if I was one to miss people and things, I don't know. I don't know that I could honestly say, like, geez, I miss him. And I'm not even sure I know what that means, right? Like, I mean, I still think of Dad, but I'm never like, God, I wish I listen to hear Dad. Like, I'm going to call him up. Like, no, none of that. I get that with my girls. I get that with Nora sometimes, with a group of them. But I don't know, is that missing? I suppose. But I don't anticipate, in a week from now saying, oh, I wish I could just give Andy a call, or, I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening. So yeah, so I'm here in Michigan. I'm going to see my Molly and my Alexis. They're coming down from their home to go to lunch with Mom and me. So I'm going to get to see them. I'm going to get to see my good friends Dave and Scott tomorrow, Friday evening. Banks to go to and lawyers to call yet and all kinds of things to happen. And then maybe we'll get up to see my oldest girl as well, Kirsten, maybe over the weekend if I can. And I'm here till Sunday night late. And I go home, work for 4 days, and then turn around and come back up with Nora. Yeah, that's, oh boy, exciting times in the JP household. I'm trying to think. There's other stuff, but I don't want to diminish the talk about my brother by going into other, the more lighthearted things. So yeah, maybe I'll just leave it there. I don't know. That's a short one, kind of a downer, kind of a bummer. But yeah, I want to thank you all if you made it through this far to listening to this podcast. That is great. If you want to reach out to me, let me know what you think about the show, things you'd like to hear about, hate mail, fan mail, whatever. You can reach me at onelater.podcast@gmail.com. That's onelater.podcast@gmail.com. And let me know. Give me some ideas. Other than that, thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time. No cows were hurt in the production of this podcast.